सो हेलो गाइस, कैसे हैं आप सब लोग। आई होप सब बढ़िया होंगे। माई सेल्फ सिद्धिकांत सिक्वाल और मैं आप सभी का स्वागत करता हूँ हमारा अपना प्यारा सा चैनल SQLJ में इन द सीरीज ऑफ NCERT लीडिंग लाइन बाय लाइन। और आज हम करने वाले हैं चैप्टर नंबर 19, दैट इज केमिकल कोऑर्डिनेशन एंड इंटीग्रेशन. You have already learned that the neural system provided a point-to-point rapid coordination among organs. The neural coordination is a fast but short-lived, as the nerve fibers do not innervate all cells of the body and the cellular functions need to be continuously regulated. A special kind of coordination and integration has to be provided. This function is carried out by hormones. The neural system and the endocrine system jointly coordinate and regulate the physiological conditions or functions in the body. 19.1. The endocrine glands and hormones. Endocrine glands lack ducts and are hence called ductless glands. Their secretions are called hormones. The classical definition of a hormone as a chemical produced by the endocrine gland and released into the blood and transported to the distantly located target organs has a current scientific definition as follows. Hormones are non-nutrient chemicals which act as intercellular messengers and are produced in the trace amount. The new definitions cover the number of new molecules in addition to the hormones secreted by organized endocrine gland. Invertebrates possesses a very simple endocrine systems with few hormones, whereas a large number of chemicals act as hormones and provide a coordination in the vertebrates. The human endocrine system is described here. 19.2. Human endocrine system. The endocrine glands and hormones producing diffused tissues or cells located in the different parts of our body constitute the endocrine system. Pituitary, pineal, thyroid, adrenal, pancreas, parathyroid, thymus, and gonads, that is, testes in males and ovaries in females, are organized endocrine bodies in our body. In addition to these, some other organs, example gastrointestinal tract, liver, kidney, heart, also produced hormones. A brief account of the structure and the function of all major endocrine glands and the hypothalamus of the human body is given in the following section. 19.2.1. The hypothalamus. As you know, the hypothalamus is a basal part of the diencephalon forebrain, and it regulates a wide spectrum of body functions. It contains several groups of neurosecretory cells called nuclei which produce hormones. These hormones regulate the synthesis and secretion of pituitary hormones. However, the hormones produced by the hypothalamus are two types. That is a releasing hormone which stimulates secretion of pituitary hormones, and the inhibiting hormones, that is which inhibit the secretion of pituitary hormones. For example, the hypothalamic hormones called gonadotropin releasing hormone, that is GnRH, stimulates the pituitary synthesis and releases the gonadotropins. On the other hand, somatostatin from the hypothalamus inhibits the release of growth hormones from the pituitary. These hormones, originating in the hypothalamic neurons, pass through the axon and are released from their nerve endings. These hormones reach the pituitary gland through the portal circulatory system and regulate the functions of the anterior pituitary. The posterior pituitary is under the direct neural regulation of the hypothalamus. 19.2.2. The pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is located in the bony cavity called sella turcica and is attached to the hypothalamus by a stalk. It is divided anatomically into the adenohypophysis and a nucleohypophysis. Adenohypophysis consists of two portions, that is pars distalis and pars intermedia. The pars distalis is lesion of a pituitary commonly called as anterior pituitary, produces growth hormone GH, prolactin, PRL, thyroid stimulating hormone TSH, adrenocorticotropic hormones, that is ACTH, luteinizing hormone LH, and the follicle stimulating hormone, that is FSH. Pars intermedia secretes one hormone called melanocyte stimulating hormone MSH. However, in the humans, the pars intermedia is almost merged with the pars distalis. Neurohypophysis, that is pars nervosa, also known as the posterior pituitary, stores and release, that is two hormones called oxytocin and vasopressin, which actually synthesized by the hypothalamus and are transported axonally to the neurohypophysis. Over-secretion of a GH stimulates the abnormal growth of the body, leading, leading to gingnatism and a low secretion of a GH, resulting in the stunted growth of the resulting in pituitary dwarfism. Excess secretion of a growth hormone in adults, especially in the middle age, can result in the disfigurement, especially of the face, called acromegalia, which may lead to the serious complications and permit the death if unchecked. The disease is the disease is hard to diagnose in the early stage and often goes undetected for many years until changes in external features becomes noticeable. Protein regulates the growth of the mammary gland and the formation of a milk in them. TSH stimulates the synthesis and the secretion of a thyroid hormone and from the thyroid gland. ACTH stimulates the synthesis and the secretion of a steroid hormone called glucocorticoids from the adrenal cortex. LH and FSH stimulate the gonadal activity and hence are called gonadotropins. In males, LH stimulates the synthesis and secretion of the hormones called androgen from the testes. In males, FSH and androgen regulate the spermatogenesis. In females, LH induces the ovulation of a fully mature follicles, that is Graafian follicles, in and maintain the corpus luteum formed from the remnants of the Graafian follicles after ovulation. FSH stimulates growth and the development of the ovarian follicles in females. MSH acts on the melanocyte, that is melanin containing cells, and regulates the pigmentation of the skin. Oxytocin can Oxytocin acts on the smooth muscles of our body and stimulates their contraction. In females, it stimulates the vigorous contraction of a uterus at the time of childbirth and the milk ejection from the mammary gland. Vasopressin acts as mainly at the kidney and stimulates lysopresin lysopression of water and electrolyte by the distal tubules and thereby reduces loss of water through urine, that is diuresis. Hence it is called as an antidiuretic hormone, that is ADH. An impairment affecting synthesis or release of ADH result in the diminished ability to the kidney of conserve water, leading to water loss and dehydration. This condition is known as diabetes insipidus. 19.2.3 The pineal gland. The pineal gland is located on the dorsal side of forebrain. Pineal secretes the hormone called melatonin. Melatonin plays a very important role in regulation of a 24-hour, that is diurnal rhythm of our body. For example, it helps the maintaining of a normal rhythm of a sleep-wake cycle, body temperature. In addition, melatonin also influences metabolism, pigmentation, the menstrual cycle as well as our defense capability. 19.2.4 Thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is composed of two lobes which are located on the either side of trachea. Both the lobes are interconnected with the thin flap called connective tissue called isthmus. The thyroid gland is composed of follicles and stromal tissues. Each thyroid follicle is composed of follicular cells enclosing a cavity. These follicular cells synthesize two hormones, that is tetraiodothyronine or thyroxine T4 and triiodothyronine, that is T3. Iodine is essential for normal rate of hormone synthesis in the thyroid. Deficiency of the iodine in our body or diet results the hypothyroidism and enlargement of the thyroid gland called as goiter. Hypothyroidism during pregnancy causes a defective development and the maturation of the growing baby, leading to the stunted growth, that is cretinism, and the mental retardation, low intelligence quotient, abnormal skin, deep mutism, etc. Adult woman hypothyroidism may cause menstrual cycle to become irregular due to cancer of a thyroid gland or due to development of the nodules of the thyroid gland. The late synthesis and the secretion of the thyroid hormones is increased to abnormal high levels, leading to the condition called hyperthyroidism, which adversely affects the body physiology. Exothyroid goiter is a form of hyperthyroidism characterized by the enlargement of thyroid gland, profusion of the eyeballs, increased basal metabolic rate, and weight loss called Graves' disease. Thyroid hormones play an important role in the regulation of the basal metabolic rate. The hormones also support the process of red blood cell formation. Thyroid hormones control the metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Maintenance of water and electrolyte balance is influenced by the thyroid hormones. Thyroid gland secretes a protein hormones called thyrocalcitonin, that is TCT, which regulates the blood calcium level. 19.2.5 Parathyroid gland. In human, four parathyroid glands are present on the back side of the thyroid gland. One pair of each in the two lobes of the thyroid gland. The parathyroid gland secretes a peptide hormone called a parathyroid hormone PTH. The secretion of a PTH is regulated by the circulating levels of calcium ions. Parathyroid hormone PTH increases the calcium 2 plus level in the blood. PTH acts on the bone and stimulates the process of a bone reabsorption, that is dilution or demineralization. PTH also stimulates the reabsorption of a calcium 2 plus level by the linear tubules and increases the calcium 2 plus absorption from the digested food. It is thus clear that PTH is a hypercalcemic hormone, that is, it increases the calcium 2 plus levels along with TCT. It plays a significant role in calcium balance in the body. 19.2.6 Thymus. The thymus gland is a lobular structure located between the lungs behind the sternum on the ventral side of aorta. The thymus plays a major role in the development of the immune system. This gland secretes the peptide hormone called thymosin. Thymosins play a major role in the differentiation of T lymphocytes, which provide a cell-mediated immunity. In addition, thymocynes also promote production of antibiotics to provide humoral, humoral immunity. Thymus is degenerated in old individuals, resulting in the decreased production of thymocynes. As a result, the immune immune responses old persons becomes weak. 19.2.7 Adrenal gland. Our body has one pair of adrenal gland, one above each kidney. The gland is composed of two types of tissues. The centrally located tissue is called adrenal medulla, and the outside this lies adrenal cortex. Undep- Unduly production of hormones, underly production of hormones by adrenal cortex alters a carbohydrate metabolism, causing the acute weakness and fatigue, leading to a disease called Addison's disease. The adrenal medulla secretes two hormones called adrenaline or epinephrine and noradrenaline or norepinephrine, commonly called as catecholamines. Adrenaline and noradrenaline are rapidly secreted in the response to the stress of any kind and during emergency situation and are called as the emergency hormones or hormones of fight or flight. These hormones increases the alertness, pupillary dilations, pyelolifications, that is raging of hair, swelling, etc. Both the hormones increase the heartbeat, strength of heart contraction, and the rate of respiration. Catecholamines are also stimulate the breakdown of glycogen, resulting in the an increased contraction of glucose in blood. In addition, they also stimulate the breakdown of lipid and proteins. The adrenal cortex can be divided into three layers called zona reticularis inner layer, zona fasciculata middle layer, and zona glomerulosa outer layer. The adrenal cortex secretes some many hormones commonly called as corticoids. The corticoids which are involved in the carbohydrate metabolism are called glucocorticoids in our body. Cortisol is the main glucocorticoids. Corticoids which regulate the balance of water and electrolytes in our body are called mineralocorticoids. Aldosterone is the main min, mineral corticoid in our body. Glu- Glucocorticoid stimulates the glucogenesis, lipolysis, and the proteolysis and inhibit the cellular uptake and the utilization of amino acids. Cortisol is also involved in the maintaining the cardiovascular system as well as the kidney functions. Glucocorticoids, particularly cortisol, produces antifunctions. Glucocorticoids, particularly cortisol, produces anti-inflammatory reactions and suppresses the immune responses. Cortisol stimulates the RBC production. Aldosterone acts mainly at the renal tubules and stimulates the reabsorption of Na plus and water and excretion of K plus and phosphate ions. Thus, aldosterone helps in the maintenance of electrolytes, body fluid volume, osmotic pressure, and the blood pressure. Small amount of androgenic steroids are also secreted by the adrenal cortex, which play a role in the growth of axial hair, pubic hair, and facial hair during puberty. 19.2.8 Pancreas. Pancreas is a composite gland which act on both exocrine and endocrine gland. The endocrine pancreas consists of islets of lanolins. There are about 1 to 2 millions of islets of lanolins in the normal human pancreas, representing only 1 to 2% of the pancreatic tissue. The two main types of cells in the islets of Langerhans are called alpha cells and beta cells. The alpha cells secretes a hormone called glucagon and beta cells secretes insulin. Glucagon is a peptide hormone and plays an important role in the maintaining of a normal blood glucose level. Glucagon acts mainly on the liver cells, that is hepatocytes, and stimulate glycogenolysis, resulting in the increased blood sugar, that is hyperglycemia. In addition, this hormone stimulates the process of glucogeogenesis, which also contributes to hyperglycemia. Glucagon reduces the cellular glucose uptake and the utilization. Thus, glucagon is a hyperglycemic hormone. Insulin is a peptide hormone which plays a major role in the regulation of glucose homeostasis. Insulin acts mainly on the hepatocytes and the adipocytes, that is cells of adipose tissue, and enhance the cellular glucose uptake and the utilization. As a result, there is a rapid movement of a glucose from the blood to hepatocytes and adipocytes, resulting in the decreased blood glucose levels, that is hypoglycemia. Insulin also stimulates the conversion of a glucose to glycogen, that is glycogenesis in the target cells. The glucose homeostasis in a blood is thus maintained jointly by the two insulins and glucagon. Prolonged hyperglycemia leads to a complex disorder called diabetes mellitus, which is associated with loss of glucose through the urine and the formation of harmful compounds known as ketone bodies. Diabetes patients are successfully treated with insulin therapy. 19.2.9 testes. A pair of testes is present in a scrotal sac, that is outside the abdomen of a male individual. Testis performs a dual functioning of as a primary sex organ as well as an endocrine gland. Testis is composed of a seminiferous tubules, stromal or interstitial tissue. The leading cells or the interstitial cells, which are present in the intertubular space, produce a group of hormones called androgens, mainly testosterone. Androgen stimulates the development, maturation, and the function of the male accessory organs, sex organs like epididymis, vasa deferens, seminal vesicles, prostate gland, urethra, etc. These, these, these hormones stimulates a muscular growth of a facial and axillary hair, aggressive neck, low pitch of voice, etc. Androgens play a major role stimulatory role in the process of spermatogenesis, that is formation of spermatozoa. Androgens act on the central nervous system and influence the male sexual behavior, that is libido. These hormones produce an anabolic, that is synthetic effects on a protein and a carbohydrate metabolism. 19.2.10 Ovary. Females have a pair of ovaries located in the abdomen. Ovary is a primary female sex organ which produces one ovum during each menstrual cycle. In addition, ovary also produces two groups of steroid hormones called estrogen and progesterone. Ovary is composed of ovarian follicles and stromal tissues. The estrogen is synthesized and secreted mainly by the glowing ovarian follicles. After ovulation, the Ruptured follicles is converted into the structure called corpus luteum, which secretes mainly progesterone. Estrogens produce a wide-ranging actions such as stimulations of a growth and activities of a female secondary sex organs, development of a growing ovarian follicles, appearance of female secondary sex character, that is high pitch of a voice, etc., and a mammary gland development. Estrogen also regulates female sexual behavior. Progesterone supports the pregnancy. Progesterone also acts on the mammary gland and stimulates the formation of alveoli, that is sac-like structure which store milk and milk secretion. 19.3 Hormones of a heart, kidney, and gastrointestinal tract. Sorry. Now you know about the endocrine glands and their hormones. However, as I mentioned earlier, hormones are also secreted by some tissues which are not endocrine glands. For example, the atrial walls of our heart secretes a very important peptide hormone called atrial natriuretic factor (ANF). Sorry, which decreases the blood pressure. When blood pressure increased, ANF is secreted, which causes a dilation of a blood vessels. This reduces the blood pressure. The juxtaglomerular cells of kidney produces peptide hormones called erythropoietin, which stimulates erythropoiesis, that is formation of RBC. Endocrine cells present in different parts of a intestinal tract secrete four major peptide hormones, namely gastrin, secretin, cholecystokinin, CCK, and gastric inhibitory peptide (GIP). Gastric act on the gastric gland and stimulate the secretion of a hydrochloric acid and pepsinogen. Secretion act on the exocrine pancreas and stimulate secretion of water and bicarbonate ions. CCK act on both pancreas and gallbladder and stimulates the secretion of pancreatic enzyme and bile juice respectively. GIP inhibits the sorry GIP inhibits a gastric secretion and the motility. Several other non-endocrine tissues secrete hormone called growth factor. The factors are essential for the normal growth of tissues and their repairing or regeneration. 19.4 Mechanism of hormone action. Hormone produces their effects on the target tissue by binding to specific proteins called hormone receptors located in the target tissues only. Hormone receptors are present on the cell membrane of the target cells are called membrane bound receptors, and receptors present inside the target cells are called intracellular receptors. Mostly nuclear receptors, that is present in the nucleus, binding of a hormones to its receptors. Receptor leads to the formation of a hormone receptors complex. Each receptor is a specific to one hormone only, and hence receptors are specific. Hormone receptor complex formation lead to a certain biochemical changes in the target tissue. Target tissue metabolism and hence physiological functions regulated by the hormones on the basis of their chemical nature. Hormones can be divided into two groups, that is first peptide, polypeptide, or protein hormones. Example: insulin, glucagon, pituitary hormone, hypothalamic hormone, etc. Second, steroids. Example: cortisol, testosterone, estradiol, and the progesterone. Third, iodothyronines, that is thyroid hormones. Fourth, amino acid derivatives, that is epinephrine. सही है. उसके बाद hormones which interact with the membrane-bound receptors normally do not enter the target cells but generate the second messengers. Example: cyclic AMP, IP3, calcium 2 plus, etc., which in turn regulate cellular metabolism. Hormones which interact with intracellular receptors, example steroid hormones, iodothyronines, etc., mostly regulate gene expressions or chromosomal functions by the interaction of a hormone receptor complex with the genome. Cumulative biochemical actions result in the physiological and biochemical efforts. Now, summary. There are special chemicals which, which act as hormones and provide a chemical coordination, integration, and regulate in the human body. These hormones regulate metabolism, growth, and development of our organs. The endocrine glands or certain cells, the endocrine cell system is composed of hypothalamus, pituitary and pineal, thyroid, adrenal, pancreas, parathyroid, thymus, and the gonads. Testes, ovaries. Testes and ovaries. In addition to these, some other organs, example gastrointestinal tract, kidney, heart, etc., also produce hormones. The pituitary gland is divided into three major parts, which are called as pars distalis, pars intermedia, and pars nervosa. Pars distalis produces six tropic hormones. Pars intermedia secretes only one hormone, while pars nervosa, that is neurohypophysis, secretes two hormones. The pituitary hormones regulate the growth and the development of a somatic tissue and the activities of a peripheral endocrine glands. Pineal gland secretes the melatonin, which plays a very important role in the regulation of a 24-hour diurnal rhythms of our body. Example: rhythms of a sleep and state of a being wake and body temperature, etc. The thyroid gland hormones play an important role in the regulation of the basal metabolic late development and the maturation of the central nervous system. Erythropoiesis, metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Menstrual cycles. Another thyroid hormone, that is a thyrocalcitonin, regulates the calcium level in our blood by decreasing it. The parathyroid gland secretes parathyroid hormone PTH, which increases the blood calcium 2 plus level and plays a major role in calcium hormones. The thymus gland secretes the thymocynes, which play a major role in the differentiation of T lymphocytes, which provide a cell-mediated immunity. In addition, thymocynes also increases the production of antibiotics to provide the humoral immunity. The adrenal gland is composed of a centrally located adrenal medulla and the outer adrenal cortex. The adrenal medulla secretes the epinephrine and the norepinephrine. These hormones increases the alertness, purposely of dilation, prolification, piloelection, swelling, heart beating, strength of heart contraction, rate of respiration, glycogenolysis, lipolysis, proteolysis. The adrenal cortex secretes the glucocorticoids and mineral corticoids. Glucocorticoids stimulate the glucogenesis, lipolysis, proteolysis, erythropoiesis. Inflammatory reacts cardiovascular system, blood pressures, and the glomerular filtration rate and inhibit the inflammatory reactions by suppressing the immune immune responses. Mineral corticoids regulate the water and electrolyte content of the body. The endocrine pancreas secretes the glucagon and insulin. Glucagon stimulates the glycogenolysis and the glucogenolysis, resulting in the hyperglycemia. Insulin stimulates the cellular glucose uptake and the utilization, and the glycogenesis resulting in the hypoglycemia. Insulin deficiency and or insulin resistance result in the disease called diabetes mellitus. The tasty secrets the androgen, which stimulates the development and the maturation and the functions of the male accessory sex organs. Appearances of the male secondary sex characters, spermatogenesis, male sexual behavior, anabolic pathways, and erythropoiesis. The ovary secretes estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen stimulates the growth and development of a female accessory sex organs and secondary sex characters. Progesterone plays a major role in the maintenance of a pregnancy as well as in mammary gland development and the lactation. The atrial wall of the heart produces a atrial natriuretic hormones which decreases the blood pressure. Kidney produces erythropoietin which stimulates the erythropoiesis. The gastroinstantaneous tract secretes secretin, CCK, and the gastric inhibitory peptide. These hormones regulate the secretion and the digestive juices and help in the digestion. Here we complete the our sixth chapter, that is chemical coordination and integration. ऑलरेडी हमने ब्रीदिंग एंड एक्सचेंज ऑफ गैसेस, उसके बाद में बॉडी फ्लूइड्स एंड सर्कुलेशन, लोकोमोशंस एंड मूव सॉरी एक्सक्रीटरी मूवमेंट्स एंड excretory products and their elimination, locomotion and movement, neural control and coordination. और आज हमने कवर किया है केमिकल कोऑर्डिनेशन एंड इंटीग्रेशन. बाकी के 5 चैप्टर की लिंक मैं डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में दे दूंगा, प्लीज़ देख लेना. और ये वीडियो कैसा लगा प्लीज़ कमेंट बॉक्स में बता देना. और मैं अपने आप में क्या इम्प्रूव कर सकता हूँ बता देना. 2 दिन मेरा लेक्चर इसलिए नहीं आया था क्योंकि मेरी तबीयत खराब थी और मेरी संडे को टेस्ट भी थी और उसका सिलेबस भी ज़्यादा था, उसकी प्रिपरेशन में मेरा टाइम चला गया. सो थैंक यू फॉर वॉचिंग दिस लेक्चर. स्टे ट्यून्ड फॉर अपकमिंग वीडियोज़.